afternoon entertainment was a Game 7 in Cleveland. The Cavaliers hadn't won a playoff series without LeBron James on their roster since Brad Daugherty was their leading scorer.
Whoa.
And yesterday afternoon, Legs, it looked like it might not go their way. Paolo Banchero was great in the first half.
He was great in the first half and efficient in the first half. That's the key. Struggled a little bit with that in the second half, but he did all he could, showing you all this versatility.
Banchero had 24 in the first half. Magic had an 18-point lead, but it was down to 10 by halftime, and then Donovan Mitchell took over in the third.
Look, 89 points in his last two games, and that's why you have Donovan Mitchell, a guy that can be a little bit of a bigger guard and can use those shoulders to bully his way to the frame.
And bully was a good word for what he did yesterday, Tim.
Well, I love the fact that he wasn't taking as many quick early step-back threes. He was more intent on mid-range and, more importantly, getting to the rim for high-percentage shots.
He single-handedly outscored the Magic 17-15 in the third, and then fourth quarter. The score was close, but the feel of the game was not. The Cavaliers were in total control the entire second half. There's Darius Garland getting into the mix. And then listen to the fans. They know what's next. Yeah, look at Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, please stop.
We want anybody else, one way or another. The Cavs win. Good for them. Played great. Donovan Mitchell, brilliant. As Jay Will mentioned, 89 points in the last two games of the series. But so now on to Boston they go. An ESPN bet has the Celtics as the biggest favorite of any team to win their current semifinal series, minus 1,800. For context, the next highest favorite is the Knicks. The price there is minus 270. Ooh. So what they're basically telling us, Windy, is you can make yourself a very rich man if you believe the Cavaliers are going to win this series, and you're right. How do we feel about that?
Kind of like Donovan Mitchell does. So I think the Cavs, this is a huge step for their organization. They did kind of pick Orlando. They kind of quasi-tanked at the end of the season to avoid Philadelphia. So they really needed to get this victory. And it was a great step forward for them. But the big thing about this, Jarrett Allen missed the last three games of this series with a rib injury. With Kristaps Porzingis likely missing this entire second-round series, the Cavs could have used that advantage. I'm not sure they're going to have Jarrett Allen tomorrow when the series starts. And that and the three-point shooting is a huge advantage for the Celtics.
Well, look, I mean, I almost feel like asking the question, Celtics in how many? I mean, do the Cavs, I assume no one here is going to tell me Cleveland's going to beat Boston.
Wait a second. What does this say right here?
No, that was a typo. That was a typo in the morning notes.
Okay.
Let the record show in our morning notes. So there was a typo here. Jay Will, it reads like Jay Will wins the series.
If it's written down, it must be true.
That we'll save that one for the roast a little bit later. We assume, the Celtics are going to win the series, we assume, easily.
If Tristan Thompson is getting meaningful minutes, I will go to Celtics in a gentleman's sweep.
Okay. I think the key to the whole thing is Jarrett Allen. If Jarrett Allen does make an early appearance in this series without Porzingis, I think the Cavaliers can make it competitive. They're not going to win the series, but I'd give them 2 games.
Okay, so we'll see how that one goes. It starts tomorrow night. Meanwhile, let's play a game of either or as the first round. That's what I meant when I said the end of the beginning. The first round is now officially behind us. Let's move ahead to round 2, and here we go. Legs. Game 1, Pacers-Knicks tonight. Who scores more points, Halliburton or Jalen Brunson?
Jalen Brunson, because Halliburton doesn't have to. That's not necessarily his style of play. And in fact, there are games when he might get 15, 16 points, but the way he moves the ball is the biggest impact on the game. For the Knicks, if Jalen Brunson is not operating in this space where he's putting the ball in the basket at a high level, the Knicks are in trouble offensively. So Jalen Brunson, I think, has to because of the style of play for each team.
Mavs Thunder will play game 1. That's tomorrow night. Jay Will, who has more points, Luka or SGA?
Oh, my God, what a choice. What a choice. We didn't even put Kyrie Irving in the conversation because, why not focus on him? But I'm going to go just because of this is a young pup going against 2 guys that have been there before. I'm going to go with SGA to show off from the beginning because I think he's going to attack different matchups with his ability to do things off the dribble.
All right, and then the series that began on Saturday night in thrilling fashion. Legs, who has more points in Game 2, Timberwolves-Nuggets tonight, Ant or Jokic?
I'm going to go with Jokic. I'm going to give this guy a benefit of the doubt. Right? He's a 2-time, about to be 3-time MVP. He understands right now that Jamal Murray is not 100%. He's going to take on more of that scoring burden. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy or it'll be as efficient as he typically has to be for them to win. But I think Jokic understands the significance of this moment.
In the meantime, all the conversation in the NBA has been about Anthony Edwards. And our own Fran Fraschilla, who is not one who is prone to hyperbole, tweeted, I have an NBA friend who coached in 16 straight playoffs, including a couple of times against MJ, says Anthony Edwards is the closest thing he has seen to MJ and Kobe in his lifetime. At 22 years old, he's in that conversation. And our Stephen A. Smith sees it the same way.
I got Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves winning this series. I mean, I've seen enough. This brother he is so sensational, it's hard to put into words. This brother is the truth and a half. He is the real deal.
Well, so I mean, let's talk to the guy, starting with you, who played against both of them, right? I mean, you played against Jordan, you played against Kobe Bryant. Some of the similarities are striking when you watch, and you watch the demeanor. And this, again, it's not his first postseason, but I feel like this is his coming out party to some degree for people who have not been following it closely. 22 years old, he was unbelievable. Do you see the similarity?
Absolutely do. And it's a fair and it's a reasonable conversation. This isn't hyperbole to say, okay, I can see where this could go. Let's just not get too far ahead of ourselves. You got to start winning and things have to happen, right, in his career. That's a big part of this. But I think when you talk about the similarities, first of all, it's just the physical build and the athletic ability, right? That's in the same category, the same class. And then what you're starting to see now, like the ability to have combination dribble moves to get to your spot, whether as a driver or as a mid-range jump shooter, absolutely, that's what reminds me so much of MJ and of Kobe. And then I think the most important part, Greeny, he takes both ends of the floor very seriously. He's got an edge to him and a look in his eye that says he doesn't want to just, be a good player in this league or win a championship. He wants to be an all-time great. Everything he says points to that. Every action on the court speaks to that. He's got a meanness and a toughness and an edge and a no mercy type of attitude that Kobe and MJ both had. I think that, for me, is probably the most striking similarity.
Jordan-esque, but he's physically more mature than what Jordan was at this stage of his career. I remember when Jordan got beat up by the Pistons, he had to go back into the weight room. That's when you saw him take the next step.
Jordan's natural build was much skinnier. He was much leaner. Yeah, he thickened up as his career went.
It's almost like there's a Jordan-esque feel with it, but there's also like a Jaylen Brown 2.0 body frame style to him too. I think the thing you love about him the most is he's not afraid of the big moments. Like, he's not afraid of the intensity that comes along with, and he's a two-way guy. We often talk about greatness being like, oh, we lead shows with this guy dropped 40, this guy dropped 50. We don't lead shows with the first couple possessions, him guarding Jamal Murray saying, okay, I'm here for that. Just in case I see you later, I want to guard you for the rest of the game. He's one of the best two-way players we have in the game.
You should be reminded, Michael Jordan went to college for 3 years, and then even then didn't start doing any high-level NBA winning for several seasons. Kobe Bryant came straight from high school, didn't do any high-level winning in the NBA playoffs for a long time. Anthony Edwards, I'll say it again, is 22 years old, and he is leading this young team.
I just want to follow up real quick. It's a great point because I didn't get to play against Jordan until he was much deeper into his 20s. If I had seen Michael Jordan at 22 years old, you might say, look at Anthony Edwards and how much more refined he is, how much more polished he is at the same age.
That's the point you were going to make.
Let me tell you what's different he is. He's different because he does it all with a smile. Yeah. Jordan and Kobe did it with a scowl. And not only that, but he also was showing that he wants to have leadership with his team. He kind of calls out teammates, but he does it with a smile. So his demeanor is very different. And when we show all those highlights, that's important to realize. We're showing highlights of Kobe and Jordan when they learned all the footwork for those mid-range shots. Edwards is killing teams with mid-range while covered at age 22 and doing it with a smile and willingly. And I think most importantly, defensive playmaking. This is a guy whose highlight of the season was a blocked shot. What does that say about what he can do for his team?
He is spectacular. I mean, if you were not paying attention over the weekend, the number one storyline in NBA conversations was, is Anthony Edwards the next one?
Just wait until he gets to his mid-20s when that maturity really factors in. And also he has to understand there's still a slight immaturity about him that everybody has when you're young in the game of the NBA. So there's still another iteration to come on how talented
Although the
he
technical they called on him was ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
I almost jumped out of my couch.
Totally agree with that. He didn't even lean in on the stare.
It'll be rescinded if it hasn't already.
Absolutely.
It should have been emotionally rescinded in the moment. In the meantime, when you talk about when Anthony Edwards gets to his mid-20s, one of the questions will be how many titles will he have won by then? Because yesterday on NBA Countdown, our big man, Big Perk, says he thinks they're headed that way right now.
I'm going to tell you this. The Minnesota Timberwolves are going to the NBA Finals. I know that much. as long as they're healthy. That wasn't a fluke what we saw last night. This is who they've been all season long. A bunch of dogs, some nasty wolves.
They're going to win this series?
I think they are going to win this series now, the way Jamal Murray looks. I'm not going to write Denver off yet. It's just disrespectful to a team like that. They're going to have a great response, I believe, in game 2. The key is Murray. If Murray somehow convinces us as this series goes on that he's closer to 100% and he's able to have those big moments, I think Denver could still win the series. But right now, it doesn't look that way. And getting game 1 was so critical for Minnesota's confidence level in this series against this team. Right now, they have to be considered the favorite to win it.
I'll still say I have Denver winning it. I think probably game 7. It goes to 7 games ultimately. I think you're going to see a lot more defensive adjustments. I think there was a ton of room for improvement with the way Denver guarded a lot of those actions. I think you're going to see Mike Malone change things up a lot.
Chris Finch and Mike Nori, his lead assistant, both former coaches in Denver. Game plan that they had was very interesting on Jokic. Now, we all watch Jokic. He plays a center that plays like a guard. They defended him like a guard. They pressured him. When he brought the ball up the court, they pressured him in the backcourt. Then they have this amazing thing that they can do where they don't put the defensive player of the year. Rudy Gobert is going to win his 4th defensive player of the year tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They put Gobert at the rim to defend those lobs, and they put one of their other big men on Jokic. And Jokic has been turned, at least for game 1, into a shooter. The magic number, and Mike Nori and Chris Finch know this, is 25 shots. We saw last year in the finals, when Denver got Jokic up that, when he scored high points, that was benefited them. Look at what he is when he takes at least 25 shots in a playoff game in his career. Guess how many he took on Saturday?
25.
25. Only made 11, minus 12, plus minus.
You're going to see,
remember that.
And you're going to see an adjustment with their ball screen action because they're running that 2-man ball screen in the middle of the floor.